For understand light, I have to understand how I feel about the film, how I feel about the subjects, how I might make the audience and the spectator to feel about what we're looking at. I have an amazing career doing Narcos, a show from Netflix, and then Gemini Man with Will Smith, or Mile 22 with Mark Wahlberg and Joe Malkovich, Jack Ryan for Amazon Prime. Simplicity is the key to understand the techniques of cinematography. Filmmaking is part of service. I want to serve people. Everybody's unique in their own way. So that apport to the film is something beautiful. It's always beautiful. I'm Morvarid Reyes, Talebzadeh, and I'm a cinematographer. I used to be an AC and focus puller before that, and I went through the whole scale to become a cinematographer. I'm based in LA, and I'm working here for a few years now. So yeah, that's what I do.
So, what are some memorable or unique experiences that you had at the early stage of your career, and how did that impact your cinematography?
Wow, that's a beautiful question. I actually do have many memories about my early stages of cinematography, and how did I approach it? Because, like I told you before, I used to be an AC, and I have a highly successful career as a focus puller doing films and film after film, and that's how I educate myself to be a cinematographer. One of my major things that come in my mind, it's I work in a film called Gemini Man with Will Smith, and the film was directed by Ang Lee, and I was begging for months, to become I was a PA on that film, and I AC, I want to become a focus puller at that time, and I was trying to, be on that film for whatever cost, right? So finally, I made it to the film. They hire me, and I get to the first day, and I was talking through the stereographic person in charge for doing the 3D, because it was a 3D movie, and I was like, my major thing was being 1 second in the presence of Ang Lee, because Ang Lee is a director who I admire a lot, And so I don't know how, but I get to the stereographic designer, who was the man, Dimitri Portelli. He was in charge of the whole, stereographic crew. And he was doing pulling focus with two controls in both hands, which I never see before. And then I noticed, oh, this is the way they pull focus on 3D, because I was a focus puller on 2D, and I didn't even experience that at that time. So he explained me in a little paper about, something, and he put a paper. It's like, okay, so 75% here, you have 3% here, 10% there, and you gotta make this approach, and you gotta, bring, let's say, Will Smith through this side, and the house is gonna be on this type of the frame, and the composition goes through the tree on top, or, I did understand that at the beginning very quickly, the way he explained it to me. And he's like, you want to help me? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, of course I want to help you, right? So first scene, first shot of the first day, I was helping Dimitri Portelli with that shot. And I didn't even know what I was doing, really. I was like, okay, let's see, whatever he told me to do, I was just doing. And then, like, half an hour later, I feel a hand here, and it was Ang Lee. And I was like, oh, and he's like, are you nervous? I was like, no, I'm okay. Everything is okay, and my heart was beating so fast. I was truly nervous. I was desperate nervous. And he's like, everything is going to be okay, like assuring me that everything is going to be okay. Because I was truly nervous to pull focus for the first time on that set, which I was not hired to pull focus. I was just, like I told you, I was a PA and an AC. So I pulled that for the first time, and then I was continue with my work, but from time to time, Dimitri gave me the opportunity to stay with him and do some pulling some focus on 3Ds, which was one of my major stories that I can tell you right now, because it gets me, it gets me chills when I say the story, because I truly admire these people a lot, and it was a huge break for me to become a cinematographer.
What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I just want to jump in here real quick and say that my online store is now open. There's great digital assets and LUTs that I use in these videos that you're watching right now. There's some free stuff on there and some paid stuff too. Everything on my store is completely contract free, so there's no limit to the projects that you can use them on, the amount of times that you can use it, or anything like that. Once it's yours to keep forever. So if you fancy supporting the channel, then that is a great way to do so. Anyways, back to the podcast. So can you discuss how you personally like to use lighting for your cinematography? Does it depend on the project? Again, is there lighting styles that you find yourself gravitating towards?
Basically, for me, depends on the project, definitely. I mean, I have projects that have lots of challenges, especially when I do publicity or when I do music videos. They have so much challenge. You can be super creative, but at the same time, you have to achieve something. And that achievement, I'm specialized in cars, for example. Cars is the major thing that I do for publicity, Rolls Royce or Porsche. And when you light for those companies, you have to be very perfectionist and very specific not to light up in any creative way, because you have to follow some commands for saying like that, right? And what I love to do most is films, because in films you can be creative and at the same time approach some specific type of light. So you say to the director, today I'm going to give you Nostradamus. Or today we're going to do Dracula on that, specific scene, and you can light up from the ground up to the levels of the ceiling, and then and you can monkey all the things up on the ceiling, and is more fun, the approach, I have some challenges on films that they make you represent the 1700th century when light didn't even exist, and you have to cover all these little places without electricity, and you have to fake it out with, candles, but at the same time, you have to light it up with real light, right? Or you have to look for black and white, and how do you approach black and white on film and digital when I was used to, 35 mil? So that was one of my major challenges to do, because you gotta specifically know what colors do the actors have in the costumes, or what colors are the backgrounds to fill those. If you have any red, that represents, let's say, 27% of gray on the scale of Ansel Adams to go to film, or 71% with this color, or green is 53%, all of these aspects you have to figure out before shooting, because you're actually shooting in color, and then you go to black and white, and you got to see what tone of black and white you want to see. So any specific scenes that I'm doing has different approaches to light. I don't guide myself through, everything is going to be LED lights, or everything is going to be Kinos or ARRI MATs or 1200 or so, right? So basically, what I use most is the combination of me talking to director and see, okay, so we feel this about this scene, let's do it with this type of light, and then we choose the temperature, or we mix the colors of it, if we want to go for 2700 or 6800, whatever, So that's the way I see it.
With that, how do you stay inspired when you're just starting out and you're in your craft as both an AC and a cinematographer? For me, myself, I should think a lot of people watching, they're maybe in the freelance world, and it can often be a little bit disheartening when you go through dry patches. So how do you stay motivated and inspired with your craft?
Whatever you want to do in this world, you need to have passion, right? And if you have passion, everything comes in a natural way. You will feel unified with the things you're doing. You feel like you want to research more, you want to read more, you want to see more films. And the way I get inspired is by watching others work, right? I watch a lot of works from amazing cinematographers. I go to a lot of museums to see paintings, to see another people's work, to see AI work right now, to see, I want to see what many people don't let you see, because it wakes up my curiosity, to research more. And I will highly recommend to watch other people's job, and especially, let's say, silent film. Let's say, Murnau or Murnau, or let's say I watch a lot of Alfred Hitchcock movies. Every single movie from Hitchcock that you see, let's say you do a marathon of 1 week of Hitchcock films, and that's like miles and miles of learning for myself, right? I watch a lot of Scorsese, not only the gangster movies like Goodfellas and Casino. I watch a lot of like, let's say, Mean Streets or Taxi Driver. Every single Scorsese movie, I believe those two, let's say Hitchcock and Scorsese, those two will give you most of the education on film. They will talk about aware of performance, composition, lighting, movement, feeling, the tone, the moods. Oh, and also I will add Kurosawa to it. Let's say Kurosawa is also a big inspiration for myself, definitely. Yeah. And of course, I follow. I follow on podcasts, and I follow on sometimes on PDFs and books, or I follow through any single video that I can watch from cinematographers, or any single movie that they done. I admire a lot of women cinematographers like Ellen Kuras, Polly Morgan, Rachel Morrison, Reed Morano. I watch a lot of Rodrigo Prieto's film, El Chivo Lubezki, of course, Wally Pfizer, Gordon Willis, Haskell Wexler. I mean, those cinematographers that truly, truly teach you most that you can get through films, right? And they always be part of some magazine, and they talking about something new, and they, if you look through those, you will feel inspired to, I can actually make that on my scene, or I can copy that, or I can, research a little bit more about what they're doing. The other day I was seeing a Ed Lackman talk about how he's trying to patent his own false color technique.
Airy, Sony, Panasonic, red. 18% gray is 18% gray. We could then take a frame grab from the digital chip, and you could see a representation of the exposure in your frame, and how much detail in either the highlights or the shadow area you want to hold. One would be able to create a frame grab of a scene and recreate it exactly in the exposure values at a later time.
Which is very interesting, for example, and it's something that now that I saw that, I adopted to myself, to my life. And I made my own false colors, with choosing my own primary and secondaries, and, and now I put it on my Flanders monitor, and I adopt it to my films. Or if I'm going to a set and they have a small HD, I can just plug it in and I can just work with it, So it's important to be updated with those techniques.
Something else that I'm quite curious about, and this might sound like a bit of a stupid question, in terms of the visual effects in a film, any elements that are added in post, how does that work from a cinematography perspective?
That's a tough one, because when I work with the special effects, let's say on action films, of course, directors will tell you, and the ADs will tell you way before you're gonna light that scene, You're gonna light it for visual effects, or let's say you're gonna put a chroma key, or different panels of light through that scene. Let's say on Guillotine, we have a lot of special effects, because as you can imagine, we were chopping people up on that guillotine, and that's all fake, right? So you gotta know in advance how you're gonna light it, and especially because those scenes were a challenge for me, because it was on unprotected environment, everything with, different type of lights. It was outdoors, which it was sunny and not sunny, and you have the clouds moving in, back and forward all the time. So it's outdoors. You have no control over that. You can have a feel, you can have a key light, you can have some tools, but you don't have total control over that, But other than working on sets, indoors, and you have control of your chroma keys and your greens and your blues and your yellowish. So that's a major, let's say, protective environment that you can do for VFX. Yeah. But actually depends on how do you have to. It's not that you have to choose, like, okay, let's do this indoors, if you have to do it outside, you can just do it outside, but it's a combination between, because everything on VFX has to be even with lighting. It's not that you can have a few stops of light here and stops under. It has to be on the same IRA store, stops of lighting, and the range and the exposure has to be specific. And of course, thankfully, we have a lot of VFX supervisors which come and take photos of the specific shot that you make, try to, be equal with your composition, try to be equal with your range, try to be equal with your light, and they help you in post in so many ways. But yes, always a challenge to light up or compose for a VFX, definitely. Yeah, it's a tough one.
So a segment that we like to do is a scene and or movie breakdown. So we've got 2 films lined up. We've got Bangkok Sphere and Guillotine. So let's jump right into it.
Bangkok Sphere is the film that I direct in Thailand, and it was my first direction and cinematography at the same time. So that was a big breakthrough to know myself and to know who I am as a person on set, and to know a little bit of what I want, in life, and what I want to do, in the future, because that was like, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that. I think it was 2015 or something like that. Anyway, so it was a lot of understanding on how to approach, because it was in Thailand and I don't speak Thai, which is a very difficult language to learn. I speak some other languages, but not Thai. So I was trying to communicate with my AD, which speak very well English and Thai at the same time. And he was translating everything that I was saying in my own way to the actors. So you can imagine how that is, right? It's a very difficult process. And you gotta make sure that whatever he says is the right thing for your film and for what I wrote at that time, because you're going through a lot of festivals, you're trying to fund the film, you finally get the money to do it, and you cannot waste any single dime on, and not even time or money on, specific stuff. So you gotta be really equally, let's say, perfect of whatever thing you're gonna do. So yeah, and I wanted to do as well as a cinematographer, because I already knew that I didn't want to have to explain another camera guy or another cinematographer what kind of lighting you should use. Another challenge for that film was that it involved a lot of kids. And of course, working with kids has specific guidelines, specific rules, specific time. During the hours of the day, they cannot work for more than 6 to 8 hours a day. And involve some kids, amazing kids. They do understand that they were major actors. They already know what they're doing, but still, you gotta work with them. You gotta give them the facilities, and they're kids, right? So it was for me, it was a lot of challenging movie to do, but it was very beautiful at the same time. And you have to have this tough conversation back and forward with producers about how do you do that and not expending all the budget and some specific things, and or go over budget as well. So for example, I was shooting on a big bridge. It was huge. I was shooting some kids coming through that bridge with some guns and, smoking. And so it was a very hard scene to shoot. And we were there like 4 a.m. preparing for that. And, everybody was already on set, and the Steadicam was already, having everything prepped. And I choose to cancel the whole scene. I was like, okay, we're going to shoot this tomorrow. We're not doing this scene. We're going to go to that side of this same location. We want to shoot this because I want an elephant in that scene. The producer was getting crazy. How can you cancel this scene? We already prepped for this scene. We're here from 4 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, I need an elephant. I truly need an elephant. An elephant, I believe, since we're in Thailand, this is going to be a major scene for my movie. He's like, okay, we get into these back and forward discussions, and he finally accepted it. So he bring the elephant, the next day, and he was like super proud and super happy that he's bringing an elephant to the set, And I was already, shooting something else. I was with my mind in something else. I was super, with the temperament, not right. Like, how can you bring me a naked elephant? He's like, how you want me to dress it? Yeah, of course, dress the elephant. You're not bring me a naked elephant in front of the kids. So he's trying to figure out how to dress the elephant again. Put some chains on it. Put some, messy ropes. Put some kid with, gans on top of the elephant. From some gasoline tanks. Dress the elephant, right? And if you see that scene, which is on the trailer on Bangkok Sphere, you will see it. It's a total different scene than we will have it the day before, just shooting with, a lot of smoke machines. And it was about 5Ks tungsten at that time, trying to light up the bridge, it was super fun, but I decided to cancel to make it a better scene the next day, and it all worked out. So if you see it, you will understand it better. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's my first challenge with Bangkok Sphere. Guillotine was a challenge in many different ways. I was seeing this script, which I couldn't understand much at the beginning because I was reading it so fast and with such a limited period of timing that I have to actually, nurture myself with the feeling of the film, right? But the director was really good, amazing at explaining things, right? So whatever which I don't understand, he was just, on top of me every single time. And this film is about the invasion of the guillotine in the 1700 French Revolution. And so we have to represent all of these sets like France, Germany. After Germany, they pass it through Algeria. And after Algeria, we got to represent Iraq. And everything was on LA, right? So it's very difficult to find those locations and to feel that feeling of Algeria in LA, the feeling of Iraq on sets, or the 1700th century on castles, and every single, let's say, tale, because they have 5 tales or 5 chapters, it was a different type of lighting, different type of composition. One was 2.39, the other one was 185. The other one was 4x3, totally square. One was black and white and with a lot of handheld movement. The other one was super smooth and only dollies and only, very small movements and a lot of coverage, very well crafted, let's say, Algeria period. And depends on the story. The other one has I remember there was I think it was a 19th century car, very old car that actually work, when we have to drive it like a lot of times. And I remember even the crew was trying to push it because the car sometimes stopped working and the crew was, trying to push it to start the car and start, the scene running back and forward again and again. It has like 70% of the whole chapter dialogue on inside of the car. And we have like 3 cameras and every camera was different from the other one. And the lenses also were different. So I was super worried that I have to match all these lenses on post-production and, all these sensors as well. right? So yeah, we do experience a lot of challenge on that film, but it was the most rewarding film because I learned so much, especially I learned about myself so much because that's something that I want to achieve in every single film. Who I am, who I want to become, and more. I want to know more about not others. I want to know about myself. So that was a huge experience for me. Yeah, I remember we were in a big church, and it was like a castle. They call it Rural Castle in LA, a couple of hours from here. And they have these huge sets. There were people that are actually living in those castles. So we gotta be between quiet, but there are more than 60, 70 people on set, to be quiet and at the same time trying to build, this lighting and different sets of this whole castle. And the difficulties for my focus puller, colleague McNair, or the gaffers to pull up the lights all the way up to the castles, and so everybody did an amazing job there. But it was full of challenges and a very beautiful, massive experience. Yeah. Tells the story basically of how this invention was made and how it passed through these, amazing countries into Iraq, which Saddam Hussein's sons, Uday and Qusay, took the guillotine and chopped people up in a dungeon. They call it the Red Dungeon on 2003, and how this invention goes through centuries, to the population of the world, and how we get used to it, right? So it was a very fun period to make it possible, and producers on that film, directors were impressive, really. I learned so much from that.
Is there anywhere that people can find either of these films?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, Guillotine right now get to the market business in Cannes Festival right now. So it's getting distribution worldwide, and it's gonna be in theaters, I believe, soon. So because for now they has to go to festivals, and after festivals they go to theaters, and after theaters they go to streaming. It's a whole process. So I guess it's going to be by the end of this year on streaming or any other platform, and I'll let you know, of course. But right now, if you guys want to see in advance, and the trailer is on Vimeo and Vimeo, you can see it on Vimeo right there, or even in my website, morefilms.net. Which you will find the trailer right there. Yeah. Basically, is right now releasing. It's going through festivals, and I guess it's gonna be an amazing road for Guillotine now that they make it to Cannes Festival. So yeah, very happy for it.
Can you share some of your favourite techniques or tricks that you employ in your work? So if there is a particular style that you like to adopt that's quite recognisable to you.
Wow, that's a major question. So for any technique that you want to apply to cinematography, let's say lighting, right? So if I use lighting for understand light, I have to understand how I feel about the film, how I feel about the subjects, how I might want to make the audience and the spectator to feel about what we're looking at, right? And it's not like I'm completing a task for any director. I'm completing a task for the audience. So when you talk about light, you talk about backlight, field light, kicker light, you talk about any single light. You have to understand the image. You have to understand what is lighting, what is this mood, what is this tone, what is the expectation is going to feel with this, because you can make emotions with light. You can make emotions with color. You can make emotions with movements. So it's a very big question what you ask, because it has a lot of approaches to how do you understand lighting, how do you feel the light, not only on your face or on your back, on your sensations, but on your emotions. So that for me is like the most brilliant thing to understand about the techniques. You develop your eyesight, you look how you work through others, you look at paintings, and then you feel that, okay, so let's say Edward Hopper is the kind of lighting that I need for this specific scene, for this specific approach, for this specific movie, So you look at your work, you look at others' work, other movies, other cinematographers, and then you make a cinematography design before making the film, so you can have an approach to the director and see how we can collab with these kind of techniques, But basically, you develop your own way of seeing things, It could be many keys for exposure, so you feel the range through any emotions on sets. I used to be a cinematographer that always go with a light meter on sets, and I used to light meter every single thing so I can know if I'm in the correct exposure, I'm in the correct range. And then I figure right now I don't use a light meter anymore, because now I feel, okay, this is 2.8, not exactly, but I'm getting to it, I measure with the lens, I measure with the false color. There is a tons of tools right now that you can use so you can know if it's a correct exposure or not. So you manage to go by lighting, by exposure, by range, but I will say simplicity is the key to understand the techniques of cinematography. I used to be, so perfectionist and want to, and it makes myself and it make my entire film, to make it so complicated. And then I figure, oh, all right, I gotta learn the rules so I can break them and I can be myself on set, right? And it took me a long time to understand simplicity on sets.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. So leading on from that a little bit, what's your approach for collaborating with directors and other members of the team to achieve the desired vision?
Basically, and this is just for me, and well, many others can feel the same. I wanna break the fact that many people understand as my job as a cinematographer is to collaborate with the director to feel his vision. This is a misconception that I wanna break it, because I don't work only for directors. I work for a film. We work for making one film. And only one film. And I have a collaboration, of course, especially with the director, which is the most important collab that you can do. But if I don't have my right hand, which is let's say the producer designer, or art director, or my producers, let's say my gaffer, is my right hand, and my left hand, and my arms, my legs are, my focus puller, and camera ops, all these people, grips, everybody who collab, makeup, costumes, it's a complete collaboration. And I noticed that when a director called me one day and asked for my opinion for the very first time about a costume. I was like, what is this? Because I never get to have an opinion about costumes. The actors just came to set, and as dressed as they are, you just start shooting, right? You do the blocking, you start shooting. And that was the first time that director gave me the possibility, the opportunity to have my opinion about the costume. And then I noticed, wow, if he didn't ask for my opinion, I will never say anything, of course. I will make a big mistake not saying anything that I thought it was wrong from the beginning, right? So then I noticed is a like I said, collab as a filmmaking is a fact. It's not something that we just take it for granted, and it's like, okay, yeah, let me collab with you and I want to collab with you. That's not just saying. It's something that you have to truly begin with, because for me, filmmaking is part of service. I want to serve people. I wanna do this in work for one and only film. That is makes a lot of emotions for everybody, Many people can have their opinions, but if I see a director carrying sandbags because he wants to help the grips on the crew, that's not a good director. He's not making his job. It's not making anybody's job easy. I want to go home quickly. So, it's not about that type of service. It's about you working for your actors and make the performance look better so I can do my job and everybody go home quickly. Right? So yeah, it's a fact.
Ah, that's fascinating. So out of the cinematographers that I speak to, I find that they are either in one of two categories. They're either highly creative and the equipment side means very little to them. And then on the other hand, I also have sort of the gearheads who are really into the technical specifications and application of cinematography. So I'm interested to know what one you think you are. Maybe you're a little bit of both. And what are the factors that you consider when choosing camera equipment, different lenses, how that affects the visuals, and what goes into that?
Personally, I have a little bit of fight in myself because of that. Still, I'm trying to find my balance with because I'm very geeky. I'm very geek with technology and equipment, and it's very important for me to pick the right sensor, most of the right type of camera. For me, it's all about the sensor and the lenses. If I pick the right lenses, I can feel this type of way to the audience, right? Or I can give this type of mood and tone and everything to this film. But at the same time, I'm trying to find my balance between be super creative and use my way to, technology, basically, And for me, the most important thing, because technology is something you can learn easily in a couple of hours, in a couple of days, in a couple of, courses. And it's like the easy and the cheapest way to learn, but at the same time to be creative and give this feedback to directors and have this eye and know your eyesight and know how do you feel about this film, where you want to shoot it. And if you don't feel right, to compose it that way, and you can just change it, right? And it's important to talk and to discuss and to have all these conversations, long time conversations to directors to how do you want to approach any type of scene. So yeah, I think I'm in that trying to find that balance for myself. But yeah, I think it's truly important not to go all other way to technical side or creative side. It's important to find those two together.
So what role does color grading play in cinematography? And I'm just curious, I'm in my early 20s, so I completely missed shooting on actual celluloid film. I've been completely digital throughout my whole time in the industry. Is there much difference between shooting celluloid film versus digital for you?
For me right now is truly is a basic thing to if you don't have a budget to film it on digital, of course. And this is what I do most. Yeah, definitely. I do most of indie films or no budget films or anything like that. And I shoot it everything on digital. And I learned through digital, what you see is what you get, basically, right? So if you wanna color something, because I used to work recently, I lensed a film called Guillotine in LA. And it was a beautiful film to talk about the invention of the guillotine from 1700 revolution to 2003 on the time of Saddam Hussein's sons, chopping people up on the guillotine, basically, right? So it goes through 5 tales, let's say 5 chapters through different countries, let's say France, Germany, Algeria, Iraq, So every single subject, every single chapter of that film has different lighting and has different approach and have a different composition and have different movement even, right? Because let's say chapter number 3, I think it was a Nazi chapter, and it was black and white. 4-3, and everything was a handheld because we want a documentary, make it like as a documentary, So, but chapter 1, let's say, was more French Revolution, 1700th century. Light didn't exist. Everything was with, let's say, candles with a lot of lighting on ceilings. So you want to feel the emotions and transport the audience to that century, right? So I get the color, and we work with this amazing colorist, Jeffrey Warowski. He is the colorist for The Matrix, which taught me a lot about how to feel the emotions of every color without using lots, right? Because he doesn't use lots. And I was asking him, can you use a lot, like a Kodak lot for this specific scene or something? And he used to advise me not to use those lots until we color the whole thing. And after the color correction, we process, every single scene to make it the way we want to feel it, right? because emotions through film is where you have these emotions, like you can give hope, you can give playfulness, you can have a feminine color, you can have nature or innocence or freedom. Every single thing that we make on that specific film taught me that colors will transform the way we see it, because I used to color the movie with lights, I used to use a lot of teal. Teal is like my major color that I love to use for those specific frames in that time on that film, right? So I used to put teal on every single thing on the background without any director didn't even notice, and then I learned little by little how I can approach through colors. So yeah, I'll say major part of your film is gonna be color process. Definitely, many people don't understand that color correction is not color processing, which is a lot of difference between those. But you gotta process every single scene after color correction, the whole thing, And many scenes or many films may not feel that they need the color correction itself, because you're going through your own specific set and range and exposure to every film, But at the end, I do believe they give you 70% more or even 80% more, and even creative side that you didn't even expect it. So yeah, it's a major thing. And even yourself, to as a cinematographer, to educate yourself with DaVinci Resolve, which is, free for everybody to educate yourself, and a lot of other techniques that you can learn freely in internet. So yeah.
So what are the current trends and developments in the industry in terms of technology? Do you find exciting or intriguing? Are you as scared or as worried as a lot of people seem to be?
I know what this question is going. I guess. Yeah, many people can be scared, and even myself. I include myself on that. But at the same time, I do believe, I don't want to get too much into that subject, but I do believe we will have, as long as we have writers and we have creators and we have producers and we can create our own films, which is not written by AI. I do believe we always have a job. We always have creations. We always have amazing directors who want to create by themselves the things that they want to do and the stories that they want to tell. And we always have people who support us in what we do. So yeah, I'm actually excited for the new techniques that we're seeing on films through the past years, right? First, we saw the digital, and everybody was talking about, difference between digital, and you don't see any grain, and you don't see the quality of it, And now the digital exploded to another version. Is not only 2K, 4K, 8K, 12K. You have all these OLED. You also have we used to film with ARRI, let's say XST. And now we have the LF, which is large format, and every single lens, every single invention, the new matte box that you can just with one little button, you can go through ND, even the sensors has ND themselves, All this technology gets me really excited to apply it, They makes us our lives more easily, in the sense that we can actually be more creative and use those tools. I don't see anything wrong with those tools to use them in our favor, right? So if we are against that, it's not really much we can do, We can just go along with it, and we might as well use it through ourselves for the betterment of the film, right? Even some things that I discover on sky panels, let's say in ARRI lights, that makes everything so easy, in the sense that, okay, we can just look for the color temperature for this specific light, and it will bright up the room, and it will make such a save timing, time saving, time saving for directors and for the whole production, to just push some buttons instead of asking to your gaffer, who will ask another grip or another electrician to put the light farther away, to put a diffusion on it, to change the color of it because you didn't like that green, you go for another type of green, or you got for CTO or better go for CTB, all these type of things that you can just apply it, right? And same as in camera, you go through your false color or you go to your histogram. Okay, I see my balances, I see my histogram, I see this is not so good. Let me see the waveform. Okay, give it a little bit more punch or give it a little bit more diffusion to it, right? And I do believe we'll have a great time if we follow through techniques, right? And technological advancement, definitely. Yeah. Like I'm all for technological advancement. Like I told you, I'm a geek and I will continue to that path. And I don't really care what people said. I love technology. I'm going for it, and every single thing, give it to me.
So moving on to more of the kind of career side, what's the importance of networking? And do you have any strategies or any advice for anyone looking to expand their professional network?
Wow, that's a tough question. Nobody ever asked me that. Actually, I don't think I'm actually good at that. Networking. I do believe 100% networking is a very, very important thing, right? It's a major goal for us as cinematographers, as to have networking, because and especially in America, in LA and New York, you go by your contacts, and you have those contacts, and you go through films through those contacts. Contacts are everything, absolutely. So I would advise, and something that I do a lot is emailing people, even if I don't know them. I do email a lot. I do go to film festivals, for example. If you go to Camera Image, and you will know hundreds and hundreds of cinematographers. That's a specific festival for cinematographers, so you can be yourself and approach those people and talk to them and ask some questions, and connect. And that's something major. And any other festival, in South America, Latin America, or America, wherever I can get to those film festivals. Go through also. I had a friend who recently went to gear. It was like a gear kind of equipment festival in LA. I don't remember the exact name of it, And I was like, oh wow, you're going through that. It was like, it never occurred to me that this is really important too. That's a place that you can meet actually a lot of contacts, because they have a lot of master classes about their new inventions, the new technology, the new lenses, the new everything that they do there. And that's a huge marketplace. So you can go visit, connect, talk, ask questions, So yeah, I basically will say definitely networking is super important, but I have to keep up with that. I'm not very good at that myself. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. So you don't have an answer for it. That's absolutely fine. But I'm just curious if there are any myths or any misconceptions about the role of a cinematographer that you'd like to dispel.
Yeah. I think I told you at the beginning, or we talk a little bit about that. I wanna break the misconceptions about cinematographers help directors feel their vision, right? For me, it's not about that. For me, it's a collab, like I told, with every single person on the crew, and every single person has something to apport, to say, to they're human beings. We're dealing with human beings. We're not dealing with robots. We're dealing with human beings. So that's what's so important for me, to pay attention to every single person on set, and give my time and dedicate to it, right? At least on the beginning, on the pre-production, not on set. You cannot pay attention to everybody on set, but mostly to your director and producer, designer, and so on. But yeah. That misconception that they have, so the DPs working for directors, feeling their vision, is something that I don't feel like that. I feel like we're working with a vision of sometimes the screenwriter, the screenplayer, right? We feel in the vision of one single film, and we all have to work for one single film. So yeah, that's basically one misconception that I want to talk about, because many people believe that in film we just fill in that director's vision. And yeah, we work for directors, we work with them, sometimes we work for them, depends on the film, depends on the collab or the type of collab or the type of ego that might people have, right? So yeah, it's a lot of factors they intervene on that sense, right? So I do try to choose. I'm very picky about my projects. I'm very picky about what type of director I'm gonna work with, And if it's a commercial, you might not gonna get a chance to choose, But if it's a long film, usually they take me 6 months, 3 months, 4 months to shoot it. You definitely are married with this person for a few years, right? Because before pre-production, production, and post-production sometimes takes about 2 years, about 3 years, to actually release the film, to distribution. So you're gonna get married with somebody, and then you don't want to have a messy divorce, let's say it like that, right? So I'm very picky about who I'm choosing to direct with, because I know I'm gonna marry with this guy or with this girl for a few years working in this collaboration. Yeah, definitely is really important to be able to choose, and also what type of project, right? If it's a comedy or whatever fiction it is, whatever, documentary or whatever project it's going to be, it has to be something that fulfill my intentions, because it's a few years of your life. You're destined to, work with this film. And if you don't feel like it and you don't feel like you like it, you might as well reject it, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So moving forward in your career, where would you like to be in, say, 5 or 10 years' time? I've spoke to some people who they're DPs or cinematographers now, that they have the dream to be directors. Are you very much comfortable in your cinematography role moving forward?
Yeah, I will say pretty much, yeah, I am really comfortable being as a cinematographer, because let me explain something. I was living in Thailand for a period of time, and I was at that time I was really pressured to do a film, right? So I was because I was writing my film in France. I was living in the south of France, in Le Brusque, and I was, writing my film. And then I was having this pressure to find the money to, the funding to actually shoot it, right? And then when I finally get the funding to do my film, I was having this pressure from producers. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna direct and I'm gonna do the cinematography at the same time, because I'm already a cinematographer and might as well not hire anybody to do my own job, which I know what I like, which I know what I want to see. So I became a director and a cinematographer at the same time, and I was having a major breakdown with, my mind and both sides, and I noticed is a really hard job to become a director and talk to actors and blocking and, have these expectations of performance at the same time as, looking through the composition and the movements and what type of equipment you're going to use and what type of lens you're going to, and all these decisions and all these questions. You have like 1,000 questions a day that you have to answer to these people, because they're the producers and they give you the funding for it, And then after Thailand, I noticed, all right, so I just want to dedicate myself to cinematography. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to live for. And I'm going to have a simplicity in my life and a little bit more quiet around me. And yeah, definitely. I do have this amazing experience, and I admire directors for that, because now I know how to approach an actor, right? How to talk to them. How does directors feel? How do they make it complicated for themselves? Or how I can help better to the situation, because I already have that experience. I already have that past me, right? And so in that sense, I think it was major for me to learn how, become one or the other. And then I got a big break in my mind choosing, like, okay, this is what I'm really want to do in my life. I want to be stressed all the time. I want to, yell to people up, or, what kind of person do I want to be, right? And so yeah, it was a big choice, let's say.
Oh, interesting. So did you move to LA for work?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I used to, like I told you, I used to live in France. Then I moved to Thailand. And after Thailand, I moved to Colombia, to South America, because I was understanding that Netflix and many shows are doing in Colombia. I start doing there. I have an amazing career doing Narcos, for example, which is a show from Netflix. And then I get to do Gemini Man with Will Smith, or Mile 22 with Mark Wahlberg and Joe Malkovich, and I get to work with Jack Ryan for Amazon Prime. I get to work for recently for Apple TV on Echo 3, the series, and all these amazing series basically that they shot in Colombia for these streaming networks. So after Colombia, I moved to LA, and this is where I'm getting a few jobs now, and I'm settled here, and I want to start life here. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. For people looking to get into the film industry, the hot topic is you either gain experience in the real world or you go to either a university or a film school. What is your take on that, with some of the industry heavyweights claiming that you don't need film school? What's your take?
Interesting question, because I don't know if I mentioned this before. Like I told you, I start as a still photographer, which helped me to pay for my university, and I'm actually I study finance and engineering. I'm commercial engineering and finance. That's what I start. I applied for university to do that, and I graduate with honors. Studying 5 years of that, and then in Spain, I did my master's degree on commercial engineer and marketing as well. But I was on all those times. I was doing films and I was doing still photography. So might as well just change to cinematography, right? And then I started taking some courses in between Germany and USA, and a few places in Latin America, Argentina, Ecuador, Colombia, through films, and courses about production, and courses about what is that mean, to be an AC and a focus puller, and cinematography courses and all those types. And then I became this is really interesting, because I became a professor on a university that I work for, that I study on. I was studying my diploma on digital cinematography in the university, and then they asked me to be the professor for the same students. And so I was really glad to accept that as a teacher, because when you teaching something, you learn twice more, right? Because I was doing those research, and I have these amazing questions from students that I never will get it in real life in my daily job, right? So through those questions and through those amazing people that I learned so much from, students is something that makes you want to learn, and it's like an obligation to learn twice more every time you're teaching something, because you got to do a lot of research to talk 1 hour, to talk 2 hours to them, and not even say for 6 hours a day, teaching them some specific subject. So that was a real privilege and a real blessing for me to teach as a professor, as a digital cinematography. And but I never get the chance to actually study like 5 years on a film school. And then when I grew up on this business, I learned that for me, it wasn't necessary, to study 5 years of it and then graduate and then go to a specialty of it. I was already a cinematographer. I was already an AC. I was already doing a lot of, job on this business, on this entertainment business. And I just apply myself, and I, read a lot of books, and I just get a lot of knowledge from, asking a lot of questions. and being on amazing sets that I have this blessing in my life to be, and ask continuously. So that's how I get to the conclusion that is, for me, it's not necessary to be on a, study film and on university for 5 years or so, For me, it's really important to practice. And practice give you all the knowledge you want to get, because you can study for years and years and years. And if you're not practicing and you're not going to set and you're not asking the questions that you must, and you're not getting those connections, and you're not doing your job as it is, there is no way to learn it the other way. I do advise a lot of my students to go to film sets. That's a goal in your life, that it is a must, definitely. It's a fact that you learn through practicing. That's what I will say. Yeah.
Absolutely. So is there anything that that you know now, but that you wish that you had found it out sooner when you were first starting out?
There is a actually there is a lot of things that I wish I will know before. Most recently, I wish I would know better how to color myself and how to speak to colorists, because you think you know what you want. You really don't when you talk to them. And that's how they make this practice every day, right? Because they're colorists. They study for it, they study years for it, I wish I will know some facts, and I do have glimpses. I do have like little holes in my life for not being on the school, in the film school and learning about, some specific films on some specific approaches. So it's a little bit hard for me right now because I'm studying every single time that I can, not every single day, but every time that I can, apply myself that, okay, today I'm going to study these, directors' films, or when my friends talk about some specific time period of the film that I don't get into those conversations because I didn't know, because I wasn't on the school. So that's what I'm telling you. I have these holes in my life, but I'm trying to fill it, with, all these amazing, like basically for me, internet is the most amazing teacher that we have right now because it's all available. There is no excuse right now to say, oh, I don't know, there is no excuse. I mean, if you have internet and you have a computer, go through there and study. Everything is for free. Everything is gettable, and or buy a book, right? So yeah, there is a lot of things that I will have to think about it a little bit more to find my balance and say, okay, I wish I would have studied on the school, or I wish I would know this better, but also through being a focus puller, that's how I learn a lot, because the focus puller is actually the mostly the only person who is very attached to the camera every single scene on set. You might be a location guy or a producer or an art director, you'll never be by camera. But as an AC, as a focus puller, I was attached like a soldier to my camera every single scene, every single shot, because you manage that. And then you have to listen the conversation between the DP and the director all the time. So through that, I nurture myself to know how to even answer, how to even ask. What should I ask? What will, you gotta be quiet, of course, but if they ask you your opinion and you can give it to them, that's, gold, right? This is beautiful. So I get to learn a lot about the visual effects that, that artistic combination between technique and artistic technique the focus pullers have, to go for full focus on that person or not full focus on that person and go reverse or rack focus that, all these techniques that I learned by pulling focus that nobody else will understand ever on set, because they are not by camera. And all the directors is breathing on your neck through camera all the time. So by doing these 20 something years now, I get to know, and I truly believe that when I'm saying this, if you are by your camera and you don't let it go, you will learn 1,000 times more than any other person on set. That's like a beautiful part of my job, and that's how I became a camera operator as well, because I'm very jealous with my camera, and as being an AC, I didn't want anybody to touch it, and I didn't want anybody to make my frame for me, and if I work, of course, 2 cameras at the same time, or in a show that has 8 camera ops or 12 camera operators, of course, then I get to release that sense of jealousy with my camera and just work for the DP in that sense, and nurture myself through that as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. So that wraps up all of the kind of questions that I have. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Try to be yourself. Try to know yourself in any single film, because quietly and simplicity, that's the major things you can do for yourself, and if you fake it out and you're trying to be somebody that you're not, to the director or to the people on set, it's going to be a different film for you. It's going to be a different feeling. You're not going to feel okay. Try to be yourself. Yeah, that would be my advice. Yeah, because every single person is unique, right? And as I told you before, we're dealing with human beings. We are spiritual beings inside. We are not just, some robots. We are people with feelings, and we all experience the same emotions. So it's very important to give yourself to people. You are unique. Everybody's unique in their own way. So that apport to the film is something beautiful. It's always beautiful.
That's fantastic. Okay, awesome. Is there anything that you want to plug?
I will say my website, morefilms.net. Yeah, nothing more. I guess my website and nothing more. In my website, you will find my IMDb link, or my Instagram link, or my Vimeo link, or every single link that I want to show is on my website. So if you want to go through my website, that's all my information there.